There are moments, quiet, private moments where your mind becomes louder than the world around you. You're sitting somewhere still, maybe staring at your phone, a message you haven't answered yet, an invitation you're unsure about, a simple choice, something most people make without thinking. Your mind is running simulations, predicting outcomes, calculating invisible consequences. It's exhausting, because for you, thinking isn't just thinking. It's predicting, it's preparing, it's protecting. You rehearse conversations that may never happen. You analyze tone, silence, punctuation. You replay memories not because you want to, but because your nervous system is convinced something dangerous is hiding inside them. Every decision becomes a battlefield between logic, fear, intuition, and a voice in your head whispering, "What if you're wrong?" People see the hesitation, the delays, the caution, but they never see the internal war behind it. The paradox is this: the mind you built to keep you safe eventually became the prison, keeping you trapped. Overthinking was never random. It was a strategy born from environments where mistakes weren't allowed, where unpredictability meant danger, where being wrong cost you connection, approval, or safety. And now years later, you're still running a survival algorithm that no longer fits the life you're living. You don't overthink because you're weak. You overthink because once you had no margin for error. This is not a flaw. This is a wound. And like all wounds, this one has a story. Psychologically, overthinking sits at the intersection of three core mechanisms: cognitive looping, fear-based prediction processing. Hypervigilance is common in children raised in unpredictable emotional environments, when the adults around you were inconsistent, angry, dismissive, or volatile. Your nervous system adapted. It learned, if I can anticipate danger, I can avoid it. So your brain became a radar scanning tone, facial expressions, timing, silence, everything. Then came cognitive looping, also known as rumination in psychological literature. This is when the mind circles the same thought repeatedly, not to find the answer, but to prevent emotional pain. The brain thinks repetition equals clarity, but in reality, repetition becomes entanglement. Finally, there's the default mode network, a neurological system activated when the mind isn't engaged in a task. In many people, it's calm. In overthinkers, it becomes a storm. Instead of rest, it becomes analysis. And often overthinking is connected to a specific attachment pattern, anxious or avoidant attachment. You learned early that connection was unpredictable, so you began managing relationships through mental rehearsal. Overthinking is not a random personality trait. It is an adaptation, a deeply intelligent, deeply protective adaptation. But like a smoke alarm that cannot tell the difference between steam and fire, your mind now reacts to possibility as if it's certainty. Here is the silent tragedy. Overthinkers feel life more deeply, experience it less fully. Because while other people live, you observe. While others act, you rehearse. While others rest, you analyze. You do not rest easily, because your safety never came from stillness. Safety came from preparedness. Carl Jung once wrote, "To become conscious is to suffer." Overthinking is consciousness turned inward so intensely, so relentlessly, that it becomes a form of emotional self-surveillance. You fear abandonment, so you analyze every interaction. You fear judgment, so you calculate your words. You fear mistakes, so you hesitate long enough to lose opportunities. And the world doesn't see the cost, the exhaustion behind every decision, the loneliness behind emotional withdrawal, the grief behind missed chances, the shame behind "why am I like this?" The longing to finally just breathe. Overthinking is not indecision. It is self-protection, masquerading as hesitation. And the deepest fear at the center of it all is this: if I stop thinking, something will go wrong and I will be the one to blame. In adulthood, this pattern appears in subtle, recognizable ways. You might recognize yourself in these behaviors. You replay conversations long after they're over. You apologize even when nothing is wrong. You struggle with boundaries because you fear disappointing someone. You avoid big decisions until circumstances force your hand. You feel overwhelmed by choices others make casually. You struggle receiving love because your brain doesn't trust it. You prefer predictability not because you lack ambition, but because unpredictability feels unsafe. And socially, you become the observer, the thoughtful one, the careful one, the person who sees everything but says little until it's safe. But here's the truth. These aren't personality traits. These are coping strategies. At some point, you needed them, but now you are allowed to question them. Healing begins with recognition, not correction. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" ask, "What part of me learned to survive this way?" Because overthinking isn't a broken mind. It's a tired mind. A mind that never got permission to stop defending itself. Healing the mental loop is not about thinking less. It's about finally feeling safe enough to stop analyzing everything. The process is gradual, gentle, human. It begins with small acts, naming your fear instead of obeying it, allowing imperfect decisions, sitting with uncertainty without trying to control it, speaking without rehearsing, resting without earning it. This is inner child reparenting, teaching your nervous system that the world is not the same as the one you survived. It is shadow work, meeting the parts of yourself you've tried to fix instead of understanding. And it is self-compassion, replacing self-criticism with curiosity. One day, you will look back and realize that overthinking was never evidence of weakness. It was evidence of how deeply you cared, how deeply you felt, and how deeply you wanted things to go right. Nietzsche once said, "Sometimes people don't want the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. But you're here because you're ready to see your patterns, ready to understand your mind, ready to live, not just think." So let this be the moment you decide. You are no longer the child who had to earn safety. You are an adult who deserves peace. If this spoke to you, share it, subscribe, stay, not because you're trying to fix yourself, but because you're finally learning to become whole.